Hey guys, Jordan here with VFX Vault again, and today we're just going to do a quick follow-up to yesterday's tutorial about accessing parameters, material parameters in Verse. Today we're just going to quickly go over how to access textures. So if you want to know how to build this progress bar here and access it in Verse, check out my video from yesterday. Today we're just going to go over how to set textures. So we can swap out the textures to any texture that we have. We just need to set it up in Verse and set it up in the material the proper way. So let's get into it. So for those of you who haven't seen the first part of this tutorial, I'll chuck the link in the description. Go back, check it out. It'll show you how to get up to this point, how to build a simple progress bar, how to access materials with these buttons, how to set up all the textures. Let's import our texture. And again, remember, once it's imported, you can see it's just a little different to this one. This one, if we turn off the R, B, and the A, you can see it's rounded. This one here, see it's a bit more beveled. And again, make sure we come down to settings and we change it to user interface 2D to just make it nice and smooth so it doesn't pixelate. Save both of those. Then we close that. And let's make a separate button now. So we can just hold, press G to bring up the gizmo, and then hold Alt and click and drag to copy the button, F2 to rename it, and we'll just name this swap texture. Come down here and we'll just call it swap this texture on the interaction text. Cool. So then we come up to, then next we need to come over to our materials. So in our material, we can't actually change the texture until we set the texture to a parameter. So we can only change these variables because they're set as parameters. We can do the same thing with our texture. We can set it to a parameter. So we right click, convert to parameter, and we will name this progress bar texture. We save that. Cool. And then we come up to Verse and we go build Verse code. So we want to build our Verse code and save everything so that it regenerates the asset digest so that it can see these new textures that we've imported. And then come up to Verse again, open Verse in project, and let it open, Microsoft Visual Studio. Cool. So we need to add, like we did yesterday, need to add another button. So add editable, and we'll call this one texture swap button. Now, because the way Verse is set up, we can't compare two textures. So we're just going to use a simple int to switch between them, between the two textures. Just a really simple kind of switch back and forth between the two textures that we have. So we'll call it swap int of type int equal to 0. And then we come down, we've got our randomized color, copy that, and we'll call this swap texture button. So it's getting a reference to our texture swap button. And then we want to make a new function. We'll call it texture swap. And then we need to declare this new function. So we'll copy the randomized color here, and we'll come down just beneath it, bring it back, copy again. So the function was texture swap. Remember, we need to pass an agent because it's an interacted with event. Even though we're not using the agent, we still need to pass it in. And we also need to set the swap int as a variable. So we go var because we're going to set it. So if we go, we need to go if, and then we access swap int is equal to 0, then we will take our panel material and we'll go set panel material, and then we come over into our asset digest and we come down and you see now in our asset digest it's generated the 3 things that we need. We've got the progress bar texture here, the variable inside our material that we can access, and then we've got the 2 textures that we can access that we can swap. See, it takes type texture and these are type texture. So we will get the progress bar texture. So progress bar texture is equal to, so if it's equal to 0, so if it's equal to our starting texture, we want to set it to our new texture. So we'll go back to the assets digest and we'll get the second one we brought in. So textures dot, that's capital T textures. So if our swap int is equal to 0, we'll swap to our second texture and we'll just go swap int equal to 1, and we'll just go set as well because it's a variable, set swap int equal to 1, and then else, and we can just copy this. Just bring it back a bit. We'll bring these forward. Cool. Else we can set it to the original one. So if our swap int is already set to 1 because we've selected our second, then come down to the else and set it back to the original texture and set our swap int back to 0. This way now when we press the button it's just going to constantly swap between them. So we'll load into the game and we'll give that a test. Actually, before we do that, make sure on our device we build our verse and we plug in the new swap texture button, and now we'll jump into our game and we'll give it a try. So moment of truth, we can add 50%, we can reset 1%, 10%, and now let's try and swap the texture. There you go. So now we are selecting back and forth between the 2 textures that we've imported. So it's as simple as that. If you like this, please leave a like, subscribe, keep an eye out for more tutorials. If you've got any suggestions, let me know. If you want access to these textures, I upload them to the Discord server, so feel free to jump in, ask me questions, or just chat to me there some more. So thank you very much and have a nice day.